Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, and welcome back to another ZRL pre-race episode. I'm here as always with my man Drip, and we are
What's going
here,
on?
to talk about the Paul Ricard circuit. So, off the bat, Drip, I wanted to talk to you about, we know France is a very abrasive track, so I wanted to talk to you about tire management. How important is it gonna be to nurse those tires to know when to push for drivers around France?
France is, like you said, it's quite the abrasive track. All those stripes on the outside of the track, they're not just fancy painted lines. They're actually different grits of essentially just abrasive material to help slow down cars. So in other words, going outside those track limits here is a lot more unforgiving than it may seem. So tire management here between that, the curbs, and a lot of people tending to run a very high or aggressive differential in the vehicle. I think it's going to be prevalent this weekend. We've seen a variety of strategies through Division 2 and 3. A lot of people trying to go, or well, not a lot, a few people trying to make a two-stop work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, doesn't seem to be viable, so tire management is going to be important because you have to make this one stop.
You are raising a very good point. Well, actually, quite a few good points right now, and yeah, I completely agree. So, as Drip said, trying to keep it on the track is gonna be quite a challenge. Especially as you said, with those abrasive stripes, basically ruining your tires. So I think the pressure might be on here for the drivers. Trying to nurse those tires, trying to take care of them. And it brings me to my second point, which is qualifying. Um, how do you think drivers are gonna go about the qualifying session? Considering the laps are pretty much the laps, the tires are pretty much good for one push lap, because basically you do two push laps, your tires are basically 9-10%, which means you've lost a lot of grip. So what do you think is gonna be the quality strat? Are we gonna see medium runners? Are we gonna see soft runners? And you know what's pretty much the play into going into qualifying? Sorry.
I think you're very correct there, saying that these tires are only really good for about one push lap.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of wear you go through trying to stay on the very limit on this track, you are ending up in close to 8-9% in wear, especially if you happen to make a slight mistake, a little bit of over throttle, oversteer, scuffing the tires a little bit. We may see a lot of people going out for an outlap that seems good and then immediately coming back into the pits because they've made a small mistake. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are going to be opting for the soft tires. I don't think
Okay.
many will try to qualify on the mediums. Um, I feel like that's a outside the top 10 free tire choice kind of decision this
Okay.
weekend.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're probably gonna see a lot of soft tire starters. Now, I'll raise you an incident. Kind of what we saw in the academy race. We start or in the D2 race yesterday as well, where we start the race and then like 3 to 4 laps into the race, boom, safety car. Could those soft runners? Could we see a lot of soft runners go for a massive undercut, meaning like go for mediums or hards towards the end? Or do you think they'll prefer to stay with track position instead of going
I
for an undercut? Sorry.
I think an early safety car like that would
Mm-hmm.
probably be prone to seeing people onto a second set of softs, especially if it's around the
Oh,
4 or 5 lap
interesting.
mark. You're
Okay.
past you start to get past that optimal window in those soft tires around the fifth, sixth, seventh lap, depending on how hard you're pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And to get a free opportunity to then go back onto softs, make a reasonable pit stop still in the middle of the race, because at least half of the field is more than likely still going to be making a pit stop. You're
Good
going to
point.
maintain a lot of track position and be able to keep your pace up for a lot longer. So I think we can see if there's an early safety car,
Mm-hmm.
we might end up on some softs.
Interesting. And now, speaking of track position, you raise a really good point. DRS trains, how important is it gonna be to stick with someone, who has a decent pace, more or less like you, if you were driving. How important is it to stick to the train, and how would you go about, with ERS management? Because we know, Paul Ricard is a track where recharging your battery it takes, 5, 6, 7 laps maybe to get 40, 45% ERS back. So, what are your takes on that, on DRS trains and battery management in general for
I
these
think I
D1
can
drivers?
cover both of those with one word this weekend, and that word is going to be critical. Uh, Being outside the DRS kind of forces you into overusing your ERS in
Mm,
order to stay somewhat near the pack, because you can get very, very stretched out on this track. We've got a lot of tight corners leading into long straightaways, and a poor exit can hurt you a lot. So I can see people fighting to stay on the back of DRS trains, and I I don't know. I feel like a lot of our Division 1 drivers have a lot of skill when it comes to battery management, but from personal experience through the race yesterday, I had a poor qualifying, moved up to the midfield around the time that the DRS train had opened, and not particularly paying attention to the percentage, but going with the flow of the track, I had
mm.
worked myself down to 10-15% in ERS without realizing, and was overcooking my tires, slowly falling out of a DRS zone. So it's going to be quite a management game this weekend. Critical's that keyword.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that. And speaking of critical, as you say, how critical is gonna be picking your fights? Will we see, soft runners who are stuck, let's say, behind medium runners? Will we see them, trying to desperately get by in the first 2, 3 laps before those softs fall off, or will we see them try to, save battery and just push those softs as hard as they can, to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 laps, perhaps?
I
What do you
think that
think?
ties directly into the DRS ERS conversation. Like if
Okay.
you can float directly behind a car, conserve a few percentage of that tire wear,
Mm.
conserve quite a bit of ERS while staying on DRS, I think that's going to be another big key towards making the certain strategies work this weekend. Like
Okay.
it seems very important to pick your moves correctly. Like I was saying earlier about the lot of tight corners and the long straightaways. I feel like it's going to be a lot of setting up the move 2, 3 corners before, and not necessarily a switchback, but a big difference in exit speed.
That's good,
That's
yeah.
going to make these moves happen.
Because we know now France is known to have what, a very mixed amount of slow, medium, and high speed corners. That's why many car companies actually choose France as a testing circuit, because it has this really nice mixture of it's got the two long straights, the Mistral straight, which is like more than 1 mile long, and it also comes, with a downside, which in this case will be track limits. So how do you think track limits is going to play out on these D1 drivers? Well, we know they're pretty consistent, but what do you think is going to be like uh, the most risk for track limits? Turn one, turn two, or maybe the third sector, which is like really twisty and you can get out of line super easily. What are your takes on that?
Well, I certainly won't be giving anybody any advice on track limits after hooking myself up with 12 seconds last night. But I definitely feel like Sector 1 and Sector 3, like you said, are going to be the most important parts. It's not per se as technical as some other circuits, but
Okay.
it's more of a you're trying to carry as much speed as possible through the corner, and you'll float yourself a couple of inches too wide, and
Hmm.
that'll be the difference between the optimal line and getting yourself a track limits penalty. On top of things like turn 1 and 2, you've got those nasty sausage curbs there, and that can throw an even bigger wrench into your game.
Yeah. And you raise a pretty good point in here, because actually, once you start noticing that your tires are starting to get worn, those high speed turns, they start turning into death traps, especially like the second chicane out of the Mistral Straight. where if you put the gas a bit too early, you know you're into the wall, as we saw in some in D3 and D2 races. But now I want to take you guys on a little lap around a circuit Paul Ricard, so me and Rip can go commentating on this. So for this, I'm gonna turn my camera off, and bear with me just 1 second. We are gonna go on a lap around Paul Ricard circuit. So here we go, guys. Enjoy. So we're coming up, on the on the second to last corner. On the last corner, fourth into third gear, carrying a lot of speed. Try to keep minimal speed up. Speed up. Now, this is the main straight, and we're starting. Now this is seventh, eighth gear, 320, 330 kilometers per hour. Hard braking into turn one. Trying to take as much as curb you can. Trying to get a really good exit, and now into the turn number three. It's a very fast right-hander into a left-hander, trying to take as much curb, and then here down to third gear, trying to take as much speed as you can, going into Mistral, and here trip, as you would say, here ERS management is key. Trying to stay into the train. Yep, go ahead.
That section of corners we just exited there, I feel like that's going to be a key situation to set up overtakes. The DRS zone directly off the straight and coming into this little chicane here on the back straight right here. Those are going to be key setup opportunities throughout the race too. Not necessarily give yourself the direct overtake or stick your car half beside, but to get yourself close enough to set up through those tight corners to make it on the next straight.
Yep, completely agree. And here, like as you would say, at this point, your tires are completely cooked, right? Because it's a very fast right-hander. The tires are screaming for grip, trying to keep the car as straight as possible into this fast, medium fast left-hander. Try not to lose the back end over there, trying to go up with as much speed as you can. And now
it is quite a tricky corner as well, because it's deceiving. Same with this corner here. It kind of gets sharper as you get towards the back half of the corner. You're not on the same angle all the way. Similar to turn one at Circuit of the Americas in the United States. You kind of got to play yourself a little bit deeper and hook back towards the apex rather than a smooth arc through the corner. So I feel like even those corners, a slight variation in line could make a big difference on exit speed.
There you have it, folks. France, a very technical track. As Drip was saying, a lot of places to lose the rear end, a lot of places to overcook your tires, and yeah, it's gonna be very interesting, seeing these D1 drivers tackle this really technical circuit as we were seeing. And yeah, Drip, anything else you want to add? Anything else you want to commentate?
Not particularly. I mean, we were on different ends of the racing spectrum across the Division 2 race. You were closer up towards the front end, and I was closer towards the back end. Was there anything you noticed fighting through the front end of the field that would be a key thing? I know we saw a lot of cars coming together over attempting to go wheel to wheel through some of the tighter corners. Resulted in 2 safety cars last night. Even that, what do you think about possibilities of a safety car tonight?
I don't know. I mean, well, to answer the first part of your question, my race lasted like 4-5 laps. I think I was the the first safety car. I had an unlucky moment, and it's part to what we were talking about earlier. Tire management. I really went. I went full out on quali. I tried to get the best time as possible, so I went out on 15% used scrubbed softs. So my tires were not in the best condition, but no, that's no excuse. I was about lap 4 or 5. I was trying to keep up with my teammate, Big Mama Frank. We were on a DRS train, and then I was slowly starting to lose pace. So I pushed this too hard, into the third sector. That tricky left-hander that, as you say, takes a lot of speed, but then like narrows towards the end. The back end just snapped. I spun, and Alex came full speed. Like there was absolutely nothing he could do to avoid me. It was just unlucky, very unlucky, and he went into me, and yeah, that was my race over. And unlucky for him, yeah, I kind of ruined his race because he had to go into the pits, and then yeah. So
That's part of the unfortunate part about this track, right? Even though, but like we don't have a lot of grass, we don't have a lot of sand here. So sometimes your spins that we do see, the cars end up back on track, and
mm-hmm,
things like that do happen.
exactly.
But
So yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, as you were saying, very important to keep up in the DRS train because Johan is very very fast driver. He was building up a 2-3 second gap with Garrett, but Big Mama Frank, me, Alex, and I don't know who was behind. We were sticking with Garrett on the DRS train, so it was very important because like uh, the four people that were sticking with Garrett on the DRS train, we started to pull like a 1.52 second gap with people who didn't have DRS. So it's like you say, for strategy, it's super important to maintain that, to stay in that DRS train
got it.
completely. So there you have it, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. We got the Division One France race coming up in just a few minutes. So don't go anywhere.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday night. It is a little bit after 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are here live on YouTube, live from France. It is Division 1 of the Zoom Racing League, and we are going racing at La Castellette, better known in German as Parkplatz, the red and blue striped parking lot. 5.8 kilometers, 3.63 miles, 15 turns, 2 DRS zones, a nice little chicane there to break up the Mistral Straight, and a tricky Sector 3 where if you run your tires too hot in Sector 1, you're going to pay for it in Sector 3 and lose a lot of time. It's a place where you can spin and end it all, and it's also a place where you can make up great time if other people have been pushing too hard. It's going to be an exciting race. We're going to join quali already in progress, and so we're going to jump over right now. And riding on board with Bob as he goes into the pits. We've already seen some lap time set. Lee Hall in P1 with a 129.3. Travis Robinson also a 129, just 400 separating them. Ian Krager, Jack Fletcher, Peter Giordano rounds out your top 5. Big Mama Frank, you raced here last night in Division 2, had a great result. Ended up for your first podium. It was a really good, exciting night. What are these drivers in for tonight?
The most difficult part of this track is simply managing your tire wear and managing your battery. The ERS in this track is it's really hard to manage because you use a lot of it just in passive use, and it's really, really slow to gain. And on top of that, we've already seen our first, I don't know if it may be our first puncture of the entire season yesterday in D3 with OG having a puncture on the last lap. So that's certainly a possibility on this track.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen a puncture before. We knew you could get them in the game. It's obviously a feature of the physics, but not something we've had to deal with. So unfortunate for OG as Red Bull continues to try to get great points in D3. But Ian Krager goes a 129.2. That's really fast. That's a full tenth and a half faster than Lee Hall. So he is setting the bar very high. It's not surprising, though. We talk about it every week. Lee is a great qualifier. I mean, Ian is a great qualifier. One of our best time trial sweats, if you will. And so it's always good to start from the front. He had a really good, I think, P2 last week with Travis on in P1. So good points for Alpine as they want to defend their home Grand Prix.
That's a lot of laps on his tires. It's a really good lap, but because tire wear is such an issue on this track, you may wind up having to force yourself to pit for hards really, really early, which may compromise the end of your race. But I'm sure he'll have enough time to go out for one more stint.
We should. Hey, chat, do me a favor. We had some issues with my streaming software today, and so if you hear anything, if we need to adjust some audio levels, please let me know. We'll take care of that as best we can. So once we get into the actual race itself, we want to give you a really good, high quality product. So I apologize if there's any issues now. Duncan McCammett coming into Sector 3 has a really good lap going. He may be on for a really nice finish. Gonna be a little bit of traffic in front of him. I don't know if he can make up that gap that he has to. Well, he hasn't set a time, and he goes wide. Somehow does not invalidate his lap. You would think that going out that wide would invalidate the lap, but it didn't. So lucky Duncan strikes again.
Well, I mean, I think going out that wide is just kind of invalidate his time and, you know, for it to be competitive. So a little bit of commentator's curse there.
Oh yeah, he goes P17 with a 131.4, and looks like. Trying to look at his battery here, see if he's going to go. He's still pushing, so he may go push here.
He should have enough battery for two laps in a row. Just like I said before, usually in qualifying, you usually want to try to put in one lap, and that's it, because otherwise you're starting the race on just way too worn tires.
We got a couple of reserves in today. NVA is in for the Ferrari of Bronson Stafford. Bronson had other commitments and couldn't make it. Travis Robinson improves even more. Goes 7/100ths faster than Ian Krieger with a 129.2. Our other reserve in tonight in the Aston Martin is one birthday boy, Barney Goatmere. Barney had a birthday this weekend, celebrated it by going to see the Batman, and that is a lot of B's in one sentence.
And as you were speaking, Tom was able to put in a 29.5, put himself in P4. We are getting around to the time where final stints, so there's not a lot of time to go back in.
So I did notice earlier that Tom and Razor both came out on the mediums to begin, but they have set their times on softs as Razor comes across the line, and he's going to go P4. So a pair of McLarens in 4 and 5, the 29.3 and a 29.5. Really good laps there. Next across the line looks like it's going to be Duncan McCammett, who does improve to P9 with a 29.8. Shaved a full 2 seconds off his lap there, so he's going to be feeling good about that one.
Talking about those medium tires, it seems like the best kind of balanced strategy for this track is mediums to hards or hards to mediums. Just the only problem, since we run short qualifying for this track, it's really, really hard to actually try to start the race on mediums because everyone else is just going to go out on softs. So it's a nice try. It's so hard to get a good lap time on those.
Missed Beamer's lap there, but he does go P5 and splits the McLaren. So the McLarens will be starting nose to tail if that holds sway on the outside. I believe P1 starts on the inside of the track, correct?
I believe it starts on the outside going into turn 1.
Peter Giordano up a full 3/10 on his best lap. That's going to put him in P2. So Peter and Ian putting those blue vacuum cleaners in positions 2 and 3 provisionally. It's still 5 minutes to go in quali. A lot can happen, but I'd say the track's pretty well as rubbered in as it's going to get. So it's time for these drivers to really nail down what they're going to try to do. So right now, your top 5, Travis Robinson, Peter Giordano, Ian Krieger, Lee Hall, Razor Center, Beamer NG. Bob Loblaw sneaks into the top 7 to push the McLaren of Tom 1 back. Jack Fletcher and Damian Doe round out your top 10 as it stands currently.
Shout out to Beamer, though. This is his first week as a full-time driver. So on top of that, he did race CRL last weekend here at France, and he finished 3rd. So very good finish for him.
Very nice finish, and shout out to the guys over at CRL. They've been a great sort of accompanying organization to us. A lot of drivers drive in both leagues. Luckily, the times don't overlap, and so we can try to help each other out. And they've been great for us. Really augmented our numbers, given us some really good ideas on things to do. So big shouts to CRL. Love you guys, man. I think Peter's going to be coming in the pits here. I don't think. Well, no, he's still pushing. He's trying to improve that lap. Let's see if he can improve from P2. He wants to start ahead of Travis. Peter's had sort of a rough go. He was out of town for a little bit, but for a guy, he does go into the pit. So yeah, for a guy that we thought was going to be able to, not necessarily easily, but without a ton of difficulty, be able to retain his crown for a 3rd season. He's had to deal with Razor and Travis and some of the other really quick guys, and then an absence or 2 here and there. Ian goes and puts it on provisional pole with a 129.1. So are we going to see somebody even go faster than that? Do you think we can see a 29 flat here?
I think we can see a sub 29.
Oh,
If people
okay.
if people can come out, and one thing that you'll probably see here as people leave the pit for the final time is they'll sit in neutral, they'll sit in first gear, and they'll just sit there burning all the fuel they possibly can, and then just finish qualifying with just that one lap of fuel. And I think people can get sub 28, 29 here.
Right on board with Will Graham as he finishes up a lap here. He's currently sitting down in P15. Will's a newer guy to the league. Don't know him very well. Haven't talked to him much. Yeah, he joined the league at the end of last season, and based on his pace, was slotted to D1. And he's very similar to D1 pace right now. He's not sitting well in the sorting table, and hope that he gets to stay in D1, but he's going to need to start churning out some results here, and goes a 29.8. Does improve to P12. So that's 3 spots gained on that lap.
So we're gonna get Travis Robinson just starting his potentially final push lap.
And already up almost 2/10 through Sector 1 and through that portion of Sector 1. And he's going to have a little bit of traffic in front of him. Looks like a Williams, a couple of Williams in front of him and a Haas. And so nothing really changed in the top 5. Couple of guys sat in the pits right now. Beamer, Bob, and Victor. Victor just pulled into the pit, so a little bit of time left to set a lap if they want to. But that's, well, no, there's 2 minutes left. I think that time is come and gone. You got to be out of the pits now.
Crazy, Revis, or is this rain that I'm seeing?
Oh, would that be a thing? I haven't looked at the dashboard yet, but
it's 14% chance, and this is rain.
It's getting darker now, so that is going to be probably it for qualify. If any little bit of moisture gets on the track, that's going to be game over for these boys. And so Travis is still up on his time just a little bit. I'm trying to look again at the telemetry to see if I can see exactly how well he's doing. He did have a purple Sector 1. He's the fastest there by 0.02 of a second. He's faster than Ian Krager right now.
Oh, it's going to be so hard to finish these last couple of corners.
So what can Victor Diaz has retired from the session in the pits. He's not going to go back out for another lap, folks. So Travis, as he comes down the main straight, what can he do? Can he put it on pole? And Travis Robinson is actually slower through the lap and stays in P2. So a couple of Alpines split by a Travis Robinson, followed by Lee Hall, Razor Senna. That rounds out your top 5. Beamer MG, Bob Loblaw, Tom, Jack Fletcher, and Victor Diaz in P10 will be your top 10. Stuck on those used softs, everyone after them can have their choice of tires. So speaking of tires, saw a lot of guys in the lower division races running on the hard tires. I can't remember, forgive me for this. I can't remember if you had to run on the hards at all, but they seem to be an okay race tire for this track.
Yeah, this track, it seems hards are a very viable tire option. If you can get maybe, like in our D2 race yesterday, we had a safety car and I believe 2 virtual safety cars, so it did help us. It did help a lot of the leaders stretch their softs and their mediums, so they did go soft medium. But I think without any kind of safety car, without any kind of virtual safety car, then you pretty much have to go on the hard tires at some point.
We did see a few people stay out and gamble. We know Ian's one. Tom's another one that likes to stay out and gamble on their first set of tires, hoping for a safety car. Monaco last week was an absolute mess. We had so many accidents, so many people hitting the wall or DNFing, and no safety cars. But it seems, from what I've seen so far, here at Paul Ricard, the VSC and the safety car are not an issue, and so we will potentially have some safety car laps, because there are a few little corners here and a couple places where you get on the power a little bit too early. You can find yourself sideways in a hurry.
Yeah, in both races we've seen, well, I don't know about, in pretty much all the races we've seen this weekend so far, there's a lot of carnage in the first sector of the first lap, particularly around turn 4 and 5. It seems people just really want to send it up the inside, whoever's in front of them, over and over, and then just people have a hard time rejoining the track safely. So I expect that we'll see at least a little bit of carnage on this first lap.
John Ranger, the French-Canadian, is pushing on through. He's not concerned about this moisture. He's going to go ahead and try to set another time and improve his time slightly. I don't think he's going to be able to do that, because he's already in the 124s as he rounds the ultimate corner and hits the DRS zone down the main straight, and already just time ticking away. This is going to be a 133. Yeah, 133.5. There was no chance to improve there, but you got to go for the bravery. You got to go for the gusto. you got to go for it if you're John Ranger, and you got to score big points for Alfa Romeo. So this week saw us say goodbye to one John Pilon. He has been moved out of that Alfa Romeo seat. He had personal issues that he had to take care of, and so welcome Beamer NG to Division 1 of the Zoom Racing League. The good news for Alfa Romeo is they will retain all of their constructor points. However, they will not retain Pilon's points towards Beamer, so those just fall off the table, and Beamer is going to be starting at the bottom with 0 points and very little chance for him to actually win the Drivers' Championship. So top 10 as it stands: Ian Krager from Travis Robinson, Peter Giordano, Lee Hall in the Aston Martin, Razor Senna, Beamer NG, Bob Loblaw. Forgot who was next. Jack Fletcher? No, it was Tom. Jack Fletcher, Victor Diaz in P10 in the Mercedes. So we are hoping. So, folks, do me a favor before we go any further. I want you to go and like, subscribe, comment. Tell me right now who's going to win this. Can Ian and Peter hold on to that 1-3? Can they fend off Travis Robinson? Can they find some way to squeeze him at the start and stop him from overtaking Ian early on? And give me your predictions on safety cars. Will we see more than one safety car? I'm going to set the over and under at 1 because I think something might happen today, and I want to know what you folks think. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Rowan, you're already gone. Cool. We'll go ahead and remove your comment. Don't need any bots in here. I want to say hello to Freddie Raz. Raz, man, Raz had a great weekend. Raz got his first win here in the Zoom Racing League, and I'm super proud of Raz and the performance he put on this weekend. So, Freddie, good to see you, man. Big Mama Frank is here. Josh Damiani. Wait, Big Mama Frank's right here. Why am I reading your name in the chat? Okay, so we asked a comment in the chat. Can Alpine defend the home turf at their home Grand Prix, or will the wine be sour? 18 votes in, 83% say sour grapes. So there is no belief that the Alpines can do it. And now I wonder how much that's changed after we've seen them go 1-3 in qualifying. Got a little bit of a things are, oh, it's okay. We got the formation not good. All right, so folks in the chat created a new poll. Tell me, do you think Alpine can hold on to this 1-3? Can Ian and Peter fend off the charging bull of Travis Robinson? Jack Fletcher starting in P9. Mr. Consistency, can he continue his consistent streak, or is he going to have another bad race? He's had a couple of rough ones this week, but yeah, I think he's ready to be back on form and make big moves there for Red Bull. All right, Freddie Raz is in the chat, says Lee Hall all the way. I'm with you, man. I want to see Lee do well. Lee is one of our best guys that we have around here. Really friendly, really nice guy. Also broadcasts for Division 3 on Saturday nights. And so we really appreciate all the guys that do the extra work around here and drive the cars. And it's what makes the community. So predictive pit stop strategy powered by AWS. Soft, medium. I don't think we're going to see anyone do that. Soft, medium, the alternate strategy. And soft, hard, the third potential strategy for these drivers.
Yeah, there aren't many tracks in this game where 2 stops. So I think the only one that's like a guaranteed 2-stop, or I mean mostly 2-stop, is like Canada. But outside of that, it's basically 1 stop on every track.
Canada also holds the distinction of being one of the worst tracks in the game. So top 10, all on the soft tires that they started on. Do have some hard runners to start. I'm kind of surprised to see that. Jack Pemberton, Jason Pelter, NVA, Barney, John Ranger, and Joel Guron are looking to stay long and extend early on, or they're betting on an early safety car and they're going to go ahead and burn through that set and then try to extend on the mediums.
Yeah, that's most likely what they'll wind up doing. They will probably wind up wanting to pit earlier than they actually can go on the hards, just so they can try to get track position. This track is a little bit rough on the overtaking since most of the corners are relatively high speed. So it's very DRS train heavy, and it's very things can get spread out really quickly also. know, one thing that was wild in qualifying, it was a 14% chance of rain. Like, when do you ever actually see the rain show up in 14% chance?
That's a strange number. So the good news is for the race session, we're looking at only 10% rain. So as we form up the final grid, let's run over it again. Ian Krager, Travis Robinson, Peter Giordano, Lee Hall, Razor Center, Beamer NG in his first race in Division 1, Bob Loblaw, Tom, Jack Fletcher, Victor Diaz, all on the softs, Damian Will, Duncan, and Zero Strike, all on the mediums. Don't know why that's not showing up as Ryan Zebra, but here we go. Folks, they are lined up. They are ready. They are revving. It is time to put the pedal to the floor. It's 5 lights, and we are underway in Paul Ricard at La Castellette. It is a great start for Travis Robinson, who immediately jumps out in front of the Alpines, and he is gone. This is an absolute disaster of a start for Ian Krager, who's now dropped another spot. Lee Hall and a little bit of wheel banging. And Jack Pemberton's losing a bunch of spots, dropped all the way down to P18. And mostly clean getaway. Jack Pemberton and NVA on the bad end of that have fallen significantly behind the field here. But Lee Hall up into second, and Travis Robinson ahead and running away and looking to extend that gap, much like he did last week.
Okay, that collision we saw in turn 2 looked a lot worse than it actually played out. It looked like cars were DNFing. I saw stuff flying everywhere, but everyone was able to get back on track.
Take a look back here at Jack Fletcher, see if he has any damage. He doesn't. He did lose that spot to NVA, but he's hunting him back down. Now back up at the front, Travis Robinson, just an absolute monster of a start. That was insane, and he's already more than half a second from Lee Hall and looks to be pulling that gap. Ian Krager sticking tight on the back of Lee Hall, and we have a potential DRS train all the way back through P11, so the top 10 cars, 2 laps from now, if they can all hang together, are going to form a big, long DRS train. Duncan McCamick has had a moment. Back in P20, what's happened to Duncan? Oh, disaster.
He lost his entire front wing in that early lap collision, so he's been trying to do the whole lap without any kind of front wing.
All right, I'm sorry, folks. We missed that. I just noticed he was dropping positions like a bad habit, so he's going to come in, I assume, put on another set of mediums. Barney Goatmere also into the pits to get off those hards early, and I believe he had damage. Picks up a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. We have turned off a lot of assists here in Zoom Racing League. We also see Jack Pemberton into the pit, must have had damage as well. So pit assist is not turned on for Division 1, and so if you've been racing on lower divisions or racing as a reserve, it's easy to forget that and pick up that penalty.
Our telemetry is showing that Ian has 1 damage to his right front wing. I wonder how much that
it must have been a rock
going
chip.
to affect them. Yeah.
So, man, these guys are absolutely just pouring it on right now, trying to keep up with the pack. Razor Senna, we talked. They talked in the pre-race show. You talked earlier about managing that battery, and he has already burned through over half of it as Bob Loblaw goes wild and already picks up a 3-second time penalty this early on. It looks like we've got Barney Goatmere around. And Ghosted, looks like he had a little spinneroo on those marginally cold tires. They do have tire blankets, so there is some temperature in the tires already, but nowhere near the racing temperature that you're going to need. As Bob Loblaw and Razor Senna doing a little wheel banging, a little fighting here through Sector 3, and Bob actually takes that spot, and the two of them have fallen significantly back as DRS will be enabled on this coming lap. So Razor's going to be fighting for his life to take that spot back from him. We may see them just swapping those spots through the DRS exchange through the next few laps.
Yeah, battling it's always nice to get the position, but if you start creating a gap between you and the cars in front, you're hurting your own race by battling with the person in front of you.
Speaking of battling, Lee Hall is fighting with everything he's got right now. He's taken the lead of the race from Travis Robinson. We missed that move, but Travis is going to have the speed as they come around to the Mistral Straight. Travis will have the advantage of the DRS because he is within half a second. Must be within 1 second the car in front through the DRS detection zone, which they've already passed through. And so now as they come around the corner to begin the Mistral Straight, see what Travis can do. And that's an easy move done for Travis, and easy on the brakes, easy through the chicane, and we may see them trading back and forth here. Lee's an accomplished driver. There's a reason he's in P2, but this is tough between managing your battery, which Lee's done a good job of. He still has 70% of his ERS remaining. Travis has actually burned through half his battery, so advantage to Lee Hall here, who will have the DRS and the battery advantage on the next lap.
Yeah, like I said before, it only hurts his race if he tries to go way too defensive there, because it just closes the gap between both of them and the car behind. So suddenly they're under pressure from more than one car. So the less battling they're doing, the better it is for their long-term race. Because like I said before, Bob Loblaw's 1.7 behind Peter, so he's outside of the DRS, and so now there's going to be a big gap forming while everyone else pulls each other along in front of them.
And I almost think if you're Lee here, you just stay right there with Travis. You let him have this, and you take him again on the Mistral straight, right?
Well, he got him here, but yeah. But like I mentioned before, Ian is right there, and so is Peter. So it just a little bit too much battling, and both of those guys are going to lose their position.
Peter,
so, yeah, you're right.
Peter on the really good end of this has a ton of battery remaining. So does Ian. So they're saving up for a big push here in a little bit. They want to make sure they stay nice and tight.
It's really right now. It's not about anything other than just bide your time, stick with the leaders, and then pit before them, undercut them, and then have some monster outlaps. And then you just put yourself in a really good position.
Ooh, Travis has a little bit of a moment, goes wide, might have had a little wheel spin, and actually loses the spot that he just inherited from Lee Hall. So a tiny mistake from one of my favorite Canadians of all time, and Travis Robinson lost the spot after gaining it on the DRS. So this is going to be quite a battle for several laps here, and it's all who's going to blink first. Got a couple of Razor's dropping spots back in the back. He's dropped all the way down to P8. Losing this spot to Damien. Does he have damage? Not that I can see. We've got a car in Sector 3. Looks like John Ranger potentially had a moment back there. And got it back going again, but in danger of losing this spot to Tom here. Tom is another one, had a precipitous drop. He started in, P8, and he's all the way down to P13. So not a good showing for the McLarens, who have had a really great season thus far. Travis, even with the DRS there, still behind Lee Hall, did not overtake him. And I wonder if that's just strategic planning on his part. He wants to build up a little battery and then take him on the Mistral straight.
Yeah, it honestly, no. I mean, it honestly might be more beneficial for Travis here to just try to lift at the end of the DRS straight just to kind of build his battery back up. Because he's using way too much. Because all the cars around him have significant battery, or not necessarily significant, but do have at least 20% battery advantage on him.
And he does. He lifts and tucks right in back behind. So just going to follow Lee around, let Lee pull him around for a couple laps, let Lee wear his tires and his battery out.
And on top of that, Lee already has a penalty. So battling with Lee again is only just going to hurt your race in the long term.
Travis,
so if Lee wants to lead the race and just push and have good pace, then just use that to your advantage.
Travis got the great exit and carried a ton of speed into Sector 3. And, you're Lee Hall. You got to be careful here because those tires already have 4 or 5 laps on them from quali. And so now you're looking at 9 laps total wear on them. And set of softs around here last maybe 11 to 12 laps, and they're going to be crying. What happened? What had just happened there?
That looked like Lee ghosted. And here goes Ian Krieger into the pits.
So Ian, jumps to P1 because of that was a desync issue that put him into P1 momentarily. But yeah, Lee Hall, it looked to me just kind of warped across the screen, and with the DRS back into P1, takes it back from Travis Robinson. That was really strange.
One thing, kind of fun fact on this track, because of the way the pit entry is angled, it's much shallower than the final 2 turns. You actually kind of can gain time on the cars in front of you temporarily before they get down on the straight. So he technically was further along in the lap when he went into the pits. So he was technically in the lead, but he was in the pit lane, so they obviously took it back.
So there was a famous race, and I can't remember where it was, but I want to say it was Michael Schumacher actually won a race by going into the pits using that exact same strategy, because he knew that the pit entry and the speed he would carry into it until he slowed down was greater than what it would take for the man he was battling for the win to actually drive across the finish line. It may have been here for all I know, but that is now a rule. You cannot win the race in the pits anymore because of that specific incident.
Yeah.
All right, so Ian does go early onto the hard tires. Can he make it in 22 laps on those hards?
22 laps will be rough at the end. You won't have any pace, so fighting people is going to be really difficult. Most likely, everyone around you is going to have better tires. So you can make it. Your tires aren't going to explode, but your pace is going to struggle.
Oh, I caught it at the perfect time. I went to Victor Diaz, And right as I jumped on board with Victor Diaz to see what was going on with him and Razor Senna, there was a bad moment there from Zebra Strike. So he was in P8, moves all the way down to P14. Victor Diaz had to lift, and Razor Senna and Tom took absolute advantage of that. Tom into the pits. Peter Giordano, Travis Robinson into the pits. And so right now the leader, Lee Hall, is going to be 2.5 seconds clear of Jack Fletcher. And he, I assume, will be coming in this lap as Victor takes the spot from Razor. Razor having just having a hard time here. I don't know if it's setup related, tire pressure related, but Razor seems to be struggling as Will Graham picks up a 3-second time penalty all the way back in P5, which is a great position if you're Will Graham. Not used to being up that high, buddy. So let's try to keep it together, keep those penalties clear. Love to see you get a top 10 finish here.
You know, part of this track, what's so difficult about this track is because all the corners are so wide and so long, and you also want to try to maximize every exit you possibly can. You try to be as early as you can on the throttle and try to rotate the car with the throttle at the end of every corner. I wonder if because Razor's running traction control, he's just having trouble getting traction out of these corners and just keeps losing the battle, losing the traction battle on the exit.
Speaking of battle, Bob Loblaw and Jack Fletcher absolutely just trading spots, like one then the other. One gets a great exit, the other one gets a better exit. Just absolutely killing it right here in P2 and P3. Two very quick, consistent drivers. And Jack Fletcher is going to go into the pits. Bob didn't see it coming, so he's going to stay out. Lee Hall stays out yet another lap. And good to see an Aston Martin. I love the Aston Martins. Glad to see an Aston Martin out front leading. Haven't seen one since, Saturday when Freddie Raz won it.
Well, I guess what we're seeing here is Lee is committing to the soft medium strategy. So he's going to extend the softs as much as he can and then try to make up all the time that he's going to lose with these undercuts on his second stint. And he can too. Like the second half of the race, the medium tire is significantly fast. I wouldn't say significantly, but it definitely is faster than the hards. The only problem is just the wear will catch up to you really, really quickly.
Currently 10 drivers on track on the hard tires. It does seem to be the tire of choice. So like we talked about at the beginning of the show, and as you confirmed, it is the best race tire for when you need to extend. The problem is if Lee Hall goes onto a set of mediums, is he going to have to pit again? Is he going to be at the mercy of these hard runners, or does he have enough pace to keep up with them and finish this thing out?
What we'll likely see Lee is probably go in maybe lap 11 or 12. At that point, he should be able to finish the race without getting into puncture territory. I believe what we saw from OG the night on yesterday in D3, he pit a little bit, or I think he pit lap 10 and then just push those tires to the limit. But if he can go 2 or 3 laps past that, then he should just have some really nice pace at the end of the race.
NBA having a bit of a moment out of the chicane, and Jack Fletcher was right behind him. I would have bet anything Jack took that spot for him. I think Jack is still working to get some heat into those tires. Looks like Ian on those hards has just taken that spot from Joel Guron. So Ian carving his way through the field, does lead from Travis Robinson. Missed that earlier, but they did invert those positions. I think, if I had to guess here, because Ian went in first, he had a really good outlap and was able to take him as Lee Hall goes into the pits. Bob Loblaw into the pits. So Damian Doe, I believe for the first time this season, a Williams is leading a lap here in the Zoom Racing League. So for my boy Siggy, we are going to go full cinematic here, and we are going to watch Damian Doe in the Williams lead us through part of a lap here around Paul Ricard La Castellette at the French Grand Prix.
Oh no, as you say that, I'm sorry to interrupt the cinematic mode, but Lee just spun and right out of the pits, so
does not appear to have any damage. So we're going to jump back over to Damian. We're going to watch him here through Sector 3 at the end of the Mistral Straight. So interesting fact here, folks. When the GT3, GT4, and I think LMP cars race here, unlike F1, they don't have the chicane. So that long Mistral Straight is the whole straight. I mean, it is literally like get up, grow a mustache, get something to eat, have another child, because it takes forever. Your brakes and tires lose so much temperature down that straight, and it is it's very difficult, but you can gain so much time by having a low downforce setup there, but it kills the rest of your lap. So here he comes again. He has led for this entire lap. Damian Doe stays out, leads a lap. Congratulations to the Williams driver. First lap led, I believe, by a Williams here in Division 1 in the Zoom Racing League. Well done, Damian. We've got Abigail Lang in the chat saying Jason Pelter is winning. So the artist formerly known as Gator has got the jump right now on John Ranger, and the two Ferrari powers going a little bit of a battle here, but he does give up the spot, and Travis Robinson now goes, hey, Razor Senna is out of the session. Razor is out of the session. What happened here? We're on board with Jack Pemberton. We'll try to see if we can get a view of Razor's car here to the right. And he has spun and stuffed it in the barrier, and we have a full safety car, folks. Jack Pemberton on those 7-lap old softs immediately takes advantage, and it's going to be advantage Mercedes here as Jack Pemberton with the big brain strat here going in early, I assume, to put on a set of mediums. He'll have 3-ish laps under the safety car. He does put on hard, so Jack Pemberton looking to extend to the end. Duncan McCamick also in for the hards, and Barney Goatmere in. So that is your well, I don't have it pulled up here, folks, but I believe that is your P2 points leader, Razor Senna, out of the session and out of the chance for points for McLaren.
That's really unfortunate. It just seemed like he was having such a rough race, just dropping positions just on merit. And then to finish like that without any points at all, it's really rough for your championship hunt. But what we should see here is I would expect to see everyone who hasn't pit already should be boxing now.
As Damian Doe does come into the pits, Will Graham should come into the pits. However, do John Ranger and Jason Pelter stay out and try to extend for another 10 or 15 laps? Well, 10 laps.
You can't. This is the best opportunity to get track position with these mediums, because even though we are behind a safety car, everyone else is still on that kind of safety car delta, so they are going slower too. So you still have an opportunity to jump a few people that you otherwise would not have because of the strategy.
Well, Abigail Lang, this should be your happy moment right now. In the chat, Jason Pelter, the artist formerly known as Gator in the Ferrari-powered Haas, inherits P1 on those 10-lap-old hards. So he will lead the formation around, as it looks like everyone either going on to hards or softs here. The problem, Big Mama Frank, is we're going to have, let's say we restart here at lap 13. That's 14 laps of green flag racing potentially on a set of medium tires. And if you're wanting to claw back some points here, you're going to be putting a lot of heat and a lot of temp in those tires. Can they last 14 laps of hard racing?
Absolutely. They'll make it. It will make it to that point, particularly because, because we have the safety car, and it's more about if they had to do these extra 3 laps with those tires, then it's more difficult. But we're gonna have people that are on longer. Like Lee is on older mediums. I think he's actually the only person on older mediums. Oh, and Zebra Strike, but he still has to pit. But what I mentioned about boxing, Damian is net leader right now. So, barring his penalty, of course.
Well, barring his penalty and the 2 super hungry Alpine drivers behind him. Damian is no slouch, don't get me wrong, folks. But you have the king of the hot lap, and you have the back-to-back defending ZRL champion going to be right behind him. And that's not to mention Jack Fletcher. Joel Goron's probably going to have to pit again. Jack Fletcher's right there. Bob Loblaw's right there. Will Graham, Jason's teammate, is right there. So we're going to have a string. Victor Diaz, only 3 laps on his hard tires. He stayed out. John Ranger's going to be flying. So, anyone in that top 11 that doesn't have to pit again, it takes something as simple as one of the best drivers we have, Razor, spinning. And it resets and upsets the order and potentially puts Damian Doe in a podium position that he hasn't been in yet this season.
Yeah, thinking of spinning, Jack Fletcher just spun behind the safety car and lost quite a few positions.
Oh, Jackie boy. That is not ideal.
Now, one thing I want to make a note of is, because we're behind the safety car, Codemasters recently did rebalance the safety car penalties to where it's apparently one side of penalties can't happen. So if you just go slamming into someone's rear, you get the penalty and they won't. So that's a new, I support, potentially nice feature if it works correctly.
That's good. It was always real annoying to be doing everything right and someone bumps you under a safety car and you get a penalty. It never made any sense.
Yeah. What made it worse was, like, since it's a drive-through penalty, next time you pit, you had to serve the 5-second penalty. And so even if it wasn't your fault and potentially could be removed post-race, it's just nothing can be done at that point.
Now we got OG in the chat saying, let's go Honda. Also, let's go Jason Pelter. Absolutely. We'd love to see Jason be able to finish this out. He has to pit. The thing is, he cannot drive that set of tires all the way to the end or it's a disqualification.
He does have to pit. But the thing that he's going to have is as long as he can keep his position here, he's going to have really, really nice tires at the end of the race. So he still has a good opportunity to finish in a really nice spot.
And if there's another safety car, if he's able to stay out and another safety car happens and everyone dives back into the pits, he might be able to retain that P1. It'll be unlikely, because I think if you're a Damian, if you're an Ian, you're Peter, and there's another safety car, I got a feeling they're going to go ahead and stay out. They're not going to risk losing that track position.
Yeah, that's most likely. It'll most likely depend on where the safety car deploys at, where they're at on the lap. I think what we're going to see here when the safety car restarts is these hards. One thing I realized yesterday when we were sitting behind the safety car, I was sitting on hards, and it takes basically like a lap and a half of weaving just to get those things up to even reasonable temperature. So whoever can get these temperatures up the best is probably going to have the best results going into this first lap on the restart.
Review the penalties real quick. Damian does have a 3-second penalty. His safety car is in this lap. Okay, good. The field did finally catch up enough. So 3 seconds to Bob Loblaw, Will Graham, and Lee Hall. So we will jump on board with Jason Pelter as he slowly starts to back the field up. Already a great gap to the safety car. He controls the pace here, folks. Hey, Austin, nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by. So Jason gets to decide when he wants to go. He can wait right until the start-finish straight. He can literally wait till the finish line to gun it. But I think you're going to see him immediately on the power and raring to go, and sure enough he does. And let's see if he gets a good start here. Let's drop all the way back and take a look at Damian and Zebra Strike invert the car. So team orders there. Zebra is going to defend for his life from the Alpines, and that is smart, big brain tactics right there. If he can make that car wide, and he can it's Ryan gets a bad exit there, or Damian gets a bad exit there. But if the two of them can make those cars really super wide, and they can keep as Joel picks up a 3-second penalty, keep those Alpines at bay for a little bit, it may allow Damian to run away and early on build that 3-second gap he needs, as Ian has a bit of a moment on the power. So this could be some really good team tactics here. We'll see in just a few laps.
Yeah, they definitely need to be thinking about potentially moving the cars around and having Zebra play some defense here.
Austin, to answer your question, Ian put it on pole. So we had an Alpine 1-3. Ian Krieger was on pole. Peter Giordano was P3.
And Will Graham got bumped off the track and spun out, so now he's just at the back of the pack.
Unfortunate for him. So Will Graham's going to have a bunch of ground to make up, but he does have those fresh, hard tires, so he's going to be able to make them last. But, man, that's unfortunate.
Really unfortunate for Haas in general, because they were both running so high. Now he's just out of kind of being able to influence Jason Pelter's race.
So your big movers so far, Jason Pelter up 14 positions, Joel Garon also up 14 positions. Joel joined late and was not able to participate in qualifying, so Joel's had kind of a rough time with time things working out, qualifying working out. Got a good little battle between Will sticks a wheel in there and gets bumped by Duncan McCamick for his efforts. Duncan and Jack Pemberton had a really good little battle going there, and Will tried to get himself involved and came out on the bad end of it.
This track is so difficult to race around. It's just because all the corners are so high speed, it's hard to give space. And because you want to take as wide of a line as you can, you're just opening up potential dive bombs right into the side pod of your car. Oh, and Travis Robinson had a moment. He spun again. Or not spun again, but he just spun. His teammate already spun once, but now Travis Robinson's running in the back.
Travis Robinson, the man that started on P2, had a just amazing start and just jumped Ian like Ian was dead asleep, and now finds himself all the way down in P19 and will have to make an incredible recovery drive, but he also cannot tear up those tires in that process. So Travis Robinson, unfortunately, Red Bull, not a great day.
Yeah, and as we say that, Peter Giordano just lost a ton of time going down in that final chicane in the second sector. And now he's fallen out of DRS of his teammate, which might leave him open for some attacks from behind him.
So DRS should be enabled this time around. Let's take a look as the leaders go onto the start-finish straight. See if Damian does get DRS. And he does not, so it'll be one more lap before we get DRS. Ian Krieger, what a little battle we have here. DRS is now enabled. Little side-by-side, little bump and banging. Mr. Fast versus Mr. Zebra. And Mr. Zebra loses the spot to Ian Krieger. Really good overtake there by Mr. Hot Lap, but they are still going back and forth. Ryan Zebra is not giving up on this, and Ian Krager is not willing to concede one bit, keeping it clean, side by side. Really nice racing between these two. Lee Hall picks up another 3-second penalty. That's 6 seconds for him now. That is unfortunate for Lee Hall. And Zebra was able to keep that move. But here comes Ian with the DRS, and Zebra is about to be pounced on by the American Lion of Ian Krieger.
I mean, even if he gets overtaken here, he's still in there, but he's doing so.
And he's spun.
Oh man, that was some really valiant defending though. Damien has such a big gap to work with now. If he can get some good pace in the next few laps and just build a sizable lead,
he's on for the win.
He is.
He's on for big Williams points. A couple of guys that have had a hard time, and you just saw Ryan have the hard time there. But Damien, yeah, he's got that had a 2.9 second lead. Ian has already taken 3/10 out of him, and so at the rate Ian's moving right now, he will catch Damien. Catching and passing are two different things. We saw how hard Ryan was defending there. Damien Doe on for the win is going to defend even harder.
Yeah, I think it's about time Damien needs to get past Jason. I think Jason's kind of slowing his pace now on those older tires.
Jack Fletcher just takes the spot from Tom there. So Tom and the McLaren dropping back just a little bit. Is going to have the DRS here as he has an MVA to his inside. So that's going to be 2 spots to Tom if he doesn't make a move happen here. MVA's got the better advantage, the better line. The wheels are just moments from impact, and they are able to keep it clean. Even there's a little bump there, rear tire to front tire, but they both keep it on the road. And no harm, no foul, but you can't be happy if you're Tom getting bumped like that.
No, it's so hard because there's nothing preventing anyone from just rejoining the track if they get bumped off a little bit. There's no gravel or anything, so it's just people are just going to come right back onto the track
Here
when any
comes
kind
Bob.
of contact happens.
Bob Loblaw is looking at Peter. They're both on the both in the DRS of Ian Krager. Peter's got to do something here to defend his teammate, but at the same time, he doesn't want to slow down and lose that DRS himself. So this is going to be a lot of strategy here. There's got to be a lot of sweaty palms in the Alpine garage as they are looking at a podium right now, regardless of what happens in front of them.
Absolutely. Right now, it seems Bob Loblaw is Damien's biggest ally because the more Bob attacks these Alpines, the more time for him.
Lee Hall goes around the outside on Victor Diaz, gets the move done with a little bit of a wheel bang. So Victor has just lost that spot there. These guys need to be super careful here. Lee already has the penalties, but Victor is no slouch. But man, this is Jason Pelter does finally go into the pits. So now we have our actual race leaders on there, and so I believe it was Abigail. I'm sorry, but Jason Pelter is not going to be winning this race, barring some unusual circumstance. And looks like Joel Guron's had a moment here. He's already fallen down to P9. Looks like he went off track. Don't know if there was contact there as John Ranger picks up a 3-second penalty, but that was 3 spots lost there for Joel Guron down in P11.
It is. So right now it's just clean air versus clean air racing between Damien and Ian. But the big advantage that Damien does have is that his teammate is behind him. So what they should be doing is one of them needs to be harvesting their battery, and they need to invert while the other one harvests, and then they have to send whoever has the most battery to attack the leader at that point.
And even though they both had the DRS, John Ranger actually a little bit quicker there and took the spot from Bob Loblaw. So Bob may be falling back. He's used up a lot of battery, so that may have been strategic on Bob's part. Just sit behind, get towed around for a little while. Let John Ranger go up there and battle with Peter and put the pressure on Ian. And in the meantime, Damien has built himself a 3-second gap, folks. The Williams driver just absolutely nailed it with the strategy today, and out in P1 and running away. And his heart has got to be absolutely in his throat right now with excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess Mitch, what I was talking about before with the Alpines using each other as to kind of close the gap, use each other as DRS kind of mules to charge each other's battery. The problem is, since everyone is still battling them behind him, they keep having to blow all their batteries to hold their positions. So the longer everyone else stays with these Alpines, the higher and higher the chances of Damien's win is.
John Ranger's looking at Peter Giordano, and he's letting him know, I'm here, man. Like, don't forget that I'm here. He stuck a nose in there, And there's a real good chance that if Peter makes any kind of mistake here, it's going to be absolute heartbreak for Alpine, regardless of how Ian Krager finishes.
Oh, he has to run on Peter here.
What a great move. Oh, absolutely. So smart of Peter to defend the inside here. It's going to make it a little bit harder. Who's going to be brave on the brakes? Who's going to go full Daniel Ricciardo?
No, he pulled out of the slipstream, though. I think he loses the position.
He absolutely does. So John Ranger goes P3 and now has his sights set on Ian Krieger, who's only 8/10 ahead, so he's within the DRS. Peter's sticking to the back of his gearbox, and he's got to just do everything he can here, but big points potentially for Alfa Romeo.
Oh, Bob, look, watch Bob behind Peter. He's looking for it too. He wants his position.
So is Peter just struggling on the hard tires?
I think he's just struggling because he's in a bad position battery-wise.
Oh, Ian Krieger is out of the session. What happened there? Folks, I'm sorry we missed it, but Ian, it went off here just ahead, and it is another safety car, and Damian Doe is going to stay out. John Ranger does jump into the pits. Peter Giordano into the pits. Bob Loblaw, Beamer NG, Victor Diaz, Jack Fletcher all into the pits. Victor Diaz disqualified from the session, blocking the pit lane. Did he spin? What happened there?
Oh, it seemed like the toilet got clogged right in front of the pit lane there, man.
Jack Pemberton with a 5-second penalty for a collision with Duncan McCamick, and that is Victor Diaz out of the session. An absolute disaster, a penalty and a disqualification for Mercedes, and that puts the Aston Martins into P2 and P3. So we are going to have an all Mercedes power with 2 Mercedes cars that cannot compete for the win.
On top of that, to make matters worse for the Mercedes, Victor's car still went into the pits and blocked Jack, so he had to wait for the car to clear before he could actually go into the pits and change his tires.
Absolute heartbreak, and Jack Pemberton's going to lose that spot, at least momentarily, to Travis Robinson. Or no, he gets it back. Okay, so Travis, Jack, and Will. So poor Travis, he's going to have to make something out of nothing. Had a famous broadcaster in the NBA once say, he's going to have to make chicken salad out of chicken something else.
That doesn't make any sense. I like it, though.
All right, so now the question is, so Damian, we know he's going to be good on those tires, but he is going to be feeling the pressure from Lee Hall and Barney Goatmere, who I think can finish the session on those medium tires. And so will birthday boy Barney, in his first time, or his second time, I think, in Division 1, is the birthday boy going to get a podium here? He's kept it clean. Lee Hall has those penalties. Let's review the penalties real quick, actually. 3 seconds to Damian, 6 seconds to Lee Hall. John Ranger with 3 seconds. So if Barney is within 3 seconds of Damian and Lee, he is on for the win here, filling in the Aston Martin.
I think the unfortunate thing for Barney is he has a lot of hungry D1 drivers on fresher tires than him right behind him. So it's going to be a real struggle to try to hold all of those cars back.
So Beamer's in the chat. He's been disqualified from the session as well. I missed that. He's in the chat, said the cars wouldn't move. I was going full throttle and the car didn't move. And the same thing happened to Victor. So Victor Diaz, if you're watching, if you're in the chat, hit me up in the Mercedes chat. I want to know what happened there. That was crazy. I know we've seen people, Zebra Strike goes into the pits to put on a fresh set of hards. We have seen guys before go into the pits and spin and go sideways and get disqualified for blocking the pit lane. And man, it's just, it's crazy.
Well, even though we were kind of a little bit semi-praising Codemasters for fixing kind of the issues with the penalties behind safety cars, then we kind of get whatever this was, and then lose two of our drivers from the race because of just whatever that Fiesta in front of the pit lane was.
So getting word now from Razor Sen. It's been a little while since he updated the status, but said, bro, I've been practicing the setup all week. Nothing felt weird. I was fighting with the car though. Was slow in the straights and the turns, speechless, felt like I had no front wing and everyone was passing me. So I wonder if it was just a little bit of a weather difference affecting his car in an unreal way. Austin in the chat, Ian Krager lost it in Sector 3 through the S's. As they come around in Sector 3, I'll show you exactly where he lost it. So keep your eyes tuned on the chat. I can't show you with my cursor. I don't show cursor because it'll be distracting. I could move it all over the screen and the cats will be going wild. And the ADHD kids like me would just watch the cursor instead of the race.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so right through this sector here, as they come around this big sweeping right-hander, it looked like Ian just went straight on instead of taking the left-hander.
what most likely happened is on this corner, it can be really difficult to kind of judge how much traction your rears have. And so you want to get on that throttle because you just want to get the best exit. But if you get on your throttle too much, you'll lose the rear. And so what it might have happened is he lost the rear, tried to correct it, and just snapped and just went straight.
Yeah, went straight on right there where Barney is turning left. He would have went straight into the Armco barriers and the Pirelli sign. So, yeah, huge disappointment for Ian. Great start on pole. Did lose out to Travis Robinson early on the start. Travis got a great jump, really great start for Travis, and then it's been a lot of disappointment from there as Travis Robinson is now sat down in P14 with his teammate in the Red Bull, Jack Fletcher, up in P8. Oh, Ian's wheel disconnected. Yeah, getting word from OG that Ian's wheel, he had a hardware malfunction, so. And we have we're back to green flags. We are racing again, folks. I'm sorry I missed that, but yeah. So apparently Adam Klein is not buying his drivers adequate hardware and put his driver's life at risk and threw away big points here at the home Grand Prix.
Classic Renault cheaping out on everything, man. Damien under a lot of pressure from Lee already.
And Lee has been faster overall. Throughout the week here, and so and he has the better tire advantage because, like you said, it can take a full lap and a half to get those tires up to temp. So he may be still getting temp in those tires, and Lee's mediums are ready to go. Bob Loblaw with a 3-second time penalty. Looks like Tom just took a spot from Joel Guron, so Joel Guron drops down to P10. Barney, John Ranger just took that spot from Barney, but Barney is dropping back, and you said it, partner, that he's going to have some hungry D1 drivers behind him. So if Barney's not careful, he's going to have to deal with a Peter, a Bob, and a Jason in a quick fashion, and he's going to have to defend for everything he's got here.
Oh yeah, and he's just in the worst possible position. Old tires versus fresh tires, not as much pace. D3 driver versus D1 drivers. It's just David versus Goliath battle here.
See Bob just sawing away at that wheel, trying to get that thing turned. And it's funny to see Bob kind of, working the wheel that hard. Abigail Lang, hey, Jason Pelter is still in the mix. He's in P8. Anything can happen. Thanks for watching. There's Ian confirming his wheel disconnected. As Will Graham now sets the fastest lap, 131.8. That's a pretty decent lap for race conditions. Ooh, on board with Duncan. Oh, Duncan's dropping back. He lost his spot to Travis. Will Graham's got the spot there. A little bump, little bang, the little wheel bang back, and Will Graham picks up a penalty after he and Duncan bump together. Duncan and Will, almost another little bunk here, and it looks like Duncan is struggling. I'm not sure what's going on with him. Does he have damage to his wing potentially?
He does have a little bit of damage there.
Yeah, and Jack Pemberton's going to take advantage of that as well. And
so
Duncan,
is Ebro.
Oh, Duncan just falling back, just. Wonder what happened. We're not going to have a very happy AlphaTauri driver. Oh, dear. Now, 12 seconds of penalties for Lee Hall. Lee has got to clean this up in a hurry because it is going to be impossible to build that 12-second gap. And you are just handing out spots as Barney drops another one. Barney drops another spot to Jack Fletcher. So Mr. Consistent up into P6. NVA takes the spot from Joel Guron there in P11. So a Ferrari up in P10. Duncan McCamick down has dropped another spot. He and Jack Fletcher kind of having a little back and forth here. Wonder if Jack also has damage as now Travis Robinson sees himself up 4 positions since the restart up to P11. Will Graham takes that spot from Joel, so it is an absolute disaster for AlphaTauri, sat in 13th and 16th right now and going to be a real unhappy post-race meeting.
I think Duncan was trying to give the position to Travis to let him through, and then while he was doing that, other people decided to attack him and it just turned into a giant fiesta.
And a little less than 1 lap later, we saw Barney Goatmere, the birthday boy, got from P3 to P6. So Big Mama Frank, good insight. You were right. Absolutely right, you were. As Bob moves up into P4, Peter Giordano, though, if he can keep it close, the only one in the top 5 without penalties. Jack Fletcher has to be aware of that situation as well. And the tighter he can stick with Peter through the DRS, we have a yellow flag in Sector 2 for Will Graham has gone around. So disappointing day for the Haas driver there. But if they can keep the DRS here, I mean, we could be... Oh, as Jack goes down the inside on Peter Giordano. What an absolute dive. What an absolute move. Jack Fletcher promotes up into P5. Oh, my goodness, folks. What a move. And Jack Fletcher is looking at a race win here. If he can keep up with the field and all those penalties come into play, we're going to see Jack Fletcher in the Red Bull, potentially on the top step of the podium.
Oh man, that would be an amazing finish considering the start of the race he had. So, whew, these penalties are going to make the end of this race really interesting. Oh, NBA, I think, just had a moment.
Barney Goatmere also having a moment. I wonder if the two of them came together and had an issue, because they are both spun around and right in the same area. So might have been a little bit of wheel tangling, wheel banging, and not ideal, as Damien is still sat in P2. Gonna pull up the penalties again so we know exactly what we're dealing with here, but man, I don't think it's something that's going to be real hard for them to overcome here. So we're potentially looking at Jack Fletcher, Peter Giordano, and Jason Pelter podium, as Jack Fletcher takes that spot from Peter Giordano. Jack Fletcher on an absolute tear right now. Have a yellow flag in sector 1 for John Ranger. John Ranger's out of the top 10 now, drops down to P11. That'll promote Jack Pemberton and Joel Guron. What an amazing end of the race here.
Oh, these soft runners are... Oh no, there goes Damien, no!
No, Damien, what happened? Damien's all the way down in P8, P9, just dropping like a rock, down to P10, down to P11. Duncan McCamick's going to pick that spot up from him. Damien's got it going and back on track. Can't see if he has any damage. Let's check here. And it looks like he's okay. But, yeah, Jack Fletcher currently in P2 and on for the win. I cannot wait to talk to him after if he can keep this all together. This is Jack Fletcher's race to win.
Wow, what the safety car has just absolutely just turned this whole entire race on its head.
What an absolute disaster for Ian, for AlphaTauri, but what an amazing performance here from Jack Fletcher, Peter Giordano, and Jason Pelter, who I think this will be his first podium here in Division 1 in the Zoom Racing League, getting that Haas up there, that Ferrari power, just absolutely flying right now. Bob Loblaw, another great finish for him potentially, but the 6 seconds of penalty will wipe a lot of that hard work away.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part about safety car restarts is the grid gets so compact, those penalties just hurt even more.
Let's take a look at the tires again, because now we're getting to where the tires might actually... Oh, and Travis Robinson picks up a 3-second penalty, but has made it all the way back up to P7. So can Travis push a couple more positions here in the next 3 laps? It's going to be difficult. We know he has the pace. I mean, he's a great driver.
Because he has a 3-second penalty and 2 cars behind him have more penalties, pushing in passing is just... It might slow his race down a bit.
Bob's sucking up real close to the back of Jack Fletcher here. He's got to be careful, though, because there's a lot to lose and not a whole lot to gain here by taking that position. Yeah, you get that confidence and that pride of beating him on track, but at what potential risk? Is Bob is just absolutely they are just glued together right now like a couple of twins.
I mean, at this point, I think I'd argue that it's more that Jack has everything to lose and Bob has nothing to lose. Because if Jack has a moment, makes a mistake, suddenly Bob is in a really good position for a nice finish also.
Glad we switched to that view, because Peter sucked up to the back of Bob Loblaw like they were magnets in steel, and nearly had a moment that could have been a collision. And luckily Peter quick on the brakes, but easy on the brakes enough to get it stopped and started again. Jason Pelter's dropped down to 6th, or was he already in 6th? Looks like Tom's promoted into P5. So wait just a damn minute, says Tom. Wait just a damn minute. Have you forgotten about McLaren? Have you forgotten who I am? He has now gapped Jason Pelter, so we are now on for a McLaren podium with Razor out of the race. This would be Tom's 2nd podium with his teammate not present at the end of the race. 2 laps to go, folks. Anything can happen right now. Peter Giordano, Jack Fletcher, and Tom look to be your podium finishers. What's going to happen in the next 1 3/4 laps?
Of the non-penalty runners, Tom has a slight battery advantage. So he might be at advantage here in the last lap when we get to it.
And Tom's already broken Jason Pelter's DRS, so Jason Pelter has now got to be concerned about Travis Robinson, who's only 6/10 behind him, does have the DRS, is slowly closing that gap up to 3/10, 2/10, going to be right on his gearbox. Travis does have the tire advantage. He's getting close to the end of the useful life on those softs, but he's going to have the better grip. And we're going to just have to see what happens here, and hopefully Jason has his tires in a good range and can get a good exit here.
I think Bob is just looking. I think Bob's going to send it on this last lap and cause some mayhem. I think Tom is in the best position here that he could imagine. Because look at Bob. He's just looking every corner. Oh, man, I'm so nervous here.
What a fantastic drive for him. So right now, my driver of the day is absolutely not Jack Pemberton with his 3-second penalty, but it's going to go to Jack Fletcher. I don't care what the game says, folks. Jack Fletcher, I believe, started in P9 and is on for a race win now purely through strategy and keeping it clean. No penalties. Has a great strategy here at the end. As we finish the final lap here, we're going to jump back to Tom, and we're going to watch these top 5 battle it out. So it's Lee Hall with 12 seconds of penalties, Jack Fletcher with none, blah, blah, blah with 3, and they're all right there together. So as long as everyone keeps it clean, calm, cool, and under control, your race winner is going to be Jack Fletcher from Peter Giordano, and another podium visit for Tom.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's see what Bob does. Does Bob mix things up and give an opportunity for Tom? Tom still has the most battery here. I'm surprised he's not using it. He's probably going to use it on after the chicane up here.
Tom did have a bit of a moment, a little bit of wheel spin as he entered the Mistral straight. But again, Tom, you've got nothing to lose here. As long as Travis doesn't close that gap up here, Travis isn't going to pull a 1.2 seconds in Sector 3. It just can't happen. So Bob and Jack is where it's at right now.
Can he get him? Oh, whew.
Really good entry to that corner. Really keeps it tight. Both of them just struggling for grip here at the end.
Doesn't look like Bob's gonna make
Bob's just chilling.
The
back
last
behind
second
Peter
lunge.
Giordano.
Yeah, he's just chilling. It's gonna be. Oh, here goes Tom. Oh no, he backed out. Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna send it? Oh, who can get the traction?
And Tom and Peter doing a little bit of wheel banging. First across the line is going to be Lee Hall, but your winner is Jack Fletcher from Peter Giordano, from Tom, from Jason Pelter in P4. Travis Robinson with a beautiful recovery. Started P2 on the grid, immediately jumped to P1, went to the back of the field, went to P5. So good drive today from Travis. Bob Loblaw in 6th. Lee Hall drops all the way down to 7th on penalties. Duncan McCamick with a huge recovery up to P8. Jack Pemberton in P9. Joel Guron started last. Ends up P10. Good recovery for AlphaTauri from what looked like absolute disaster. Damian Doe in 11th. Will Graham with a good finish in 12th. Barney Goatmere, the birthday weekend boy, finishes in P13. And folks, that is it. That is the end of the French Grand Prix here in the Zoom Racing League Division 1 at Paul Ricard. Driver of the day, Jason Pelter. It is hard to argue with that. It's very hard. He had a great race. So I would say, if you told me it was Jason, if you told me it was Jack, I'm not going to argue with either of those. Those are both great drivers, great results. They both had a great day. Jack got the win, but Jason was on for it for a very long time. So congratulations to both of those men today.
Man, what that safety car just threw everything. I mean, oh no, Damien has such a great opportunity, man. Such an unfortunate thing to spin so close to the end.
All right, so your final finishing order is Jack Fletcher from Peter Giordano, Tom, Jason Pelter, Travis Robinson, Bob Loblaw, Lee Hall, Duncan McCamick, and the AlphaTauri. Splits the AlphaTauri. It is the man, Jack Pemberton, Joel Guron, who tells us the default setup is goated. He did not have a proper setup on and still manages a P10, so good job to Joel. Damian Doe was in the lead of the race for such a long time, drops down to P11 after the spin. Will Graham in 12th, Barney Goatmere 13th, Zebra Strike 14th, John Ranger 15th, NVA in 16th, Ian, Razor, Beamer, and Victor are unfortunate victims of the DNF. So that race, that was nuts. It was just absolutely crazy. So, 3, I'm trying to think if we can remember. There was a man a couple weeks ago that had his first podium in the Zoom Racing League. And I think he just got another one. And he drives a McLaren. But his name's not Razor Senna. Welcome back to the post-race interviews. Tom, buddy, another podium? Are you serious?
Yeah, that was a crazy race. I felt really lucky to get a podium out of that. There was so much carnage and wheel-to-wheel racing. It was fun, though.
Yeah, and it looked like you were about to try to take that spot from Peter at the end. You guys had a little wheel bang there on the last corner. You obviously had the pace. Did you feel like you were going to be able to take him, or was it just one of those like you got to go for it at that point?
I knew he had no ERS. I was actually planning on taking him on in the first DRS zone, but I just misinput there. But yeah, I was like, I got to go for it. I see a podium. I didn't know Lethal had as much penalties as he did, or Lee Hall. But yeah, it was a good race by Peter. He held on to those medium tires at the end there. That was good.
Yeah, and you received the benefit of a couple drivers DNFing, but hey man, you take the win however you can get it. Did you get a chance to talk to Razor? What happened with him?
No, I didn't get a chance. I'll probably catch up. I know he just looked slow, like slower than usual. When we practice raced, I think he was something was up, and I don't know what happened with the crash. He was just behind me. It sucks. I think he had potential to do really well on this track. So
Oh yeah, the Aston Martins looked
unfortunate.
strong today. The Alpines looked pretty good, but man, those McLarens were flying, and man, you did it again. Another podium. That's two already for this season. So you're on to a really good start, and we wish you luck with the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, Tom. Waiting here for Giordano. I'm just gonna drag him. Kind of sat by himself in that ugly blue car. I think he forgot about us because he didn't come to the waiting room. So I'm going to drag him in here by the scruff of his neck. And P2, starting from P3, really good tire management there at the end. Peter, how you feeling after that podium?
Extremely pissed off.
Oh,
I didn't forget about you guys. I didn't go to the waiting room because I didn't want to yell at someone.
oh, fair enough. Hey,
Um,
go ahead. What's up?
so people need to be taught how to race. I got pushed off the track by both what's his name, Bob and Jack. That's how both of them passed me, just by pushing me off, because apparently that's how you get positions. And then at the end of the race, I think it was Tom just sent a move that wasn't ever there. Like I don't get it. Yeah, I really don't get it.
Hey, I understand the frustration for sure. You've always been known as one of the cleanest drivers in the league, and so for you to be upset, it's perfectly understandable, and that's why we have the ticket and stewarding system. But yeah, it's real unfortunate. You guys were on for a great result. Travis got that great jump at the start, immediately jumped Ian, but the two of you seem to be working really well together. Uh, Surprised to not see you guys invert the cars at any point to kind of try to save battery, or did you just kind of feel comfortable running together like that with Ian in front?
We were pretty comfortable. I know I'm out. I'm out of drivers. Like, maybe I don't know if mathematically it's possible, but with the quality that there is in the league, I'm pretty much out. So I was like, all right, Ian, this is all you. I'll do everything I can to help you out. So I was just happy to follow him and have him pull me along. I'm actually really surprised at the jump Lee got. That was crazy good.
Yeah, Lee was
But
really quick. Just the
yeah,
penalties killed him.
but yeah, exactly, and his spin that he had. But Ian's wheel actually disconnected, and that's why he DNF'd. So I think I don't know
I think the first call I'd be making right now
what
if I
his
was
bet
Ian
was,
would.
but
To,
it's really unfortunate.
I mean, how many wheels does your team owner have on just on his wall? And he's giving your partner, your teammate, inferior equipment. It's risking everything here. And so I think I don't think Ian's to blame here. I don't think anyone's to blame but Adam Klein. So I'm calling him out now. Alpine has a terrible owner, and I think they should be up for sale. And I think I'll buy them.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I don't know about you buying Alfie up, but if Adam could be a generous soul and lend Ian a wheel on his vast wall of wheels, that'd be nice.
Absolutely. Well, Peter, I understand the upset. I understand that you expect to win and not have things happen, but unfortunately things do happen. But you did a great job of keeping yourself composed and on the track. And thanks for talking to us. I know from talking to you, you didn't want to do it just now, but I appreciate you giving us a few minutes, buddy. So go cool off, chill out, and submit your tickets.
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing before I leave. Jack and Bob and everyone I insulted in the last couple minutes. No hard feelings. It's how it is. I just want to say, like, I don't hate you guys. Love you boys.
No,
That's it.
absolutely. It's heat of the moment stuff. Yeah, I think they know. We've all been through it. So thanks, Peter.
Yeah, have a good night.
So this guy, we have bragged on him and bragged on him. This is the guy we call Mr. Consistent. He is always there. He's always in the mix. He's always mixing it up with other drivers. He always gives us some highlight moments. But today, Jack Fletcher, the man in the Red Bull, one of my favorite dudes. He's just always happy. He's always in a good mood. He's always like, just give me something to drive and I'll go drive it. And he goes and gets a P1 in one of the most boring tracks on the F1 calendar. You held off the Alpines, and you're on the top step of the podium in France. How are you feeling, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. A little bit of a mixed emotions. I think I've pissed off a couple people, so I apologize for that. We'll see what the tickets do, but I'm super happy to finally win a race. Hasn't been a really great season that I've been putting up for Red Bull, so just super happy to get it done finally.
Oh, sorry, I accidentally cut my mic out here. I lost my OBS, and so everything's been real sweaty for me, but I imagine for you, defending from Bob for those last couple of laps, got you pretty sweaty as well. There was a lot of potential moves there that we kept seeing Bob stick his nose in. So how hard were you having to defend to hold him off?
Honestly, by the end, Bob was really working for me. I just sent him a message saying, I owe you my life. He could have passed me about 3 or 4 times at the end there, but he kept, he was perfect. He kind of just wedged in between me and Peter, and yeah.
Well,
but
go ahead.
I don't think I don't think he wanted to pass because he had the penalties, and there was really no point, right? So.
Yeah, no, there was no point. And so that's the thing that my Big Mama Frank and I were discussing is like, who has more to lose here? And really, at the end of the day, it was you that would actually have more to lose. I was thinking, for me, I was thinking it was going to be Bob would have more to lose because he hits you and spins or gets a penalty, something crazy like that. That effectively takes him out of P6 or wherever he ended up. But yeah, if you in that situation with the penalties, I don't know that I would have just kept fighting if I would have just let him go.
Yeah, well, it was tough because I didn't want to. I would have let him go probably if it was just me and him. But I was worried about Peter, who was right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
well, Jack, it was that was a real cracker. That was a banger of a race from you, and man, super proud of you. Super happy for you. You deserve that win, and go and celebrate, homie.
Thank you for the broadcast every week, man. It's awesome.
Absolutely, love you, buddy.
Bye.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Sorry about the screw-ups with the stream, folks. Like I said, OBS.
The waiting room, brother.
Oh, that's really awkward. I moved to the waiting room with Jack Fletcher when I moved him. That is super awkward. So anyway, that's going to do it for the Zoom Racing League Division 1. We are finished up and packing things up here in France, headed home. Next week, I'm going to have to look at it. But Big Mama Frank, man, that was a crazy race. It was a fun race.
Oh, that was, dude. I would have... It's such a. I mean, even though Damian spun out, we still got somebody who's been struggling all season get their first win in such a really nice fashion. So it was a really, really satisfying race just to watch.
Yeah, it was nice seeing some different people up front. Earlier in the year in Division 3, we finally saw the artist formerly known as George Russell, one Yuki Tsunoda, get to lead some laps. It was nice to see someone else out front. It was nice to see an Aston Martin leading from Lee Hall. Nice to see a Williams leading the race for a while. Nice race today from Jason Pelter. Can't leave that out. Jason Pelter's been putting in a lot of work. Was going really good last week until he had I can't remember exactly what happened, but just had a bad time. But nice to see him fighting to be up front again. And yeah, it's cool to see a Haas up there. So hey, folks, if you're still tuned in right now, make sure you like and subscribe before we leave tonight. We have an off week next week, so we will probably do a fun community event of some sort that somebody will make up, and I won't attend. So no broadcast next week necessarily. Freddie, sorry, we're not going to bring you on the broadcast. I love you, buddy. Go to bed. You got stuff to do tomorrow. But 2 weeks from today, we are going back to where it all started in season 1 of the Zoom Racing League. Our season opener was the Bahrain Grand Prix. So that is 2 weeks from tonight. And so you're going to find that our calendar going forward matches up with the F1 weekend. So we've got Bahrain, then we're going back to Jeddah for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. The off week for F1 on April 3rd, we're going to be at COTA at the United States Grand Prix. And then we are going to finish things out the end of the season, April 10th at Albert Park, not the new layout, but the old layout in Australia. We are going down under for the first time here in the Zoom Racing League. How was that?
That was beautiful.
That was terrible. Way better than my German accent for sure. Big Mama Frank, any closing thoughts?
That was fun.
Yeah, I had a good time. It was great. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate you all being here. Thank you for dealing with my idiocy and things that I screwed up. The streams looked absolutely terrible. You guys have been staring at a black screen, and that is my fault. But look, now there's a pretty graphic. As we say goodbye, congratulations to our winners. Condolences to our losers. We are on an off week. Everyone has time to rest up and regroup for the next race, round 7, here in the Zoom Racing League.